Good morning, good evening, good night, depending on where you are. Hi, I had to quickly make coffee because I had forgotten to. I was listening to music. Ugh. Before we get started, because I'm actually excited for this chapter, because I looked over where I was again. And I'm happy I finally get to the stream because it's been a bit of constantly having to put off the stream. But now is the time. Alright. So I'm just leaving the schedule up there for a moment for what's happening for the rest of the day after this stream, because I usually do roughly an hour of the reading part. That doesn't include the little intro and outro. So depends on how long the chapters are, depends how many we get through. And just for anyone else rewatching the VOD, listening or anything, this has been reading chapters from this homebrew novel that I've written and progressively still need to do. That's based off of or technically my homebrew campaign is based off of this. One of those things where you sit there and have snippets throughout the years created of this world, and only until recent times start to actually tie it together into a written format. The many documents and many notepad scramblings of a madman. I just burnt my tongue. Okay, so let's see here. Where's schedule? I'll keep schedule at this size. I was gonna resize it, but it's fine. After story time, I'm gonna have a little bit of a break between streams and then do art stream. I still haven't fully decided which one I wanted to do, if I wanted to do work on a work in progress that I already have or do something fresh. I even considered a thought of showing some of the assets I'm making for Opal on stream, since I believe next week we're doing the one-shot campaign, and I kind of have a list of things to prepare that. Even though I'm the player and she's the DM, I offered him like, hey, I can make you vague assets without me knowing story. And she's like, yes, please. So we'll figure it out. It may be because they're so vague, it's fine to stream, but I don't really want to spoil too much of what she's doing. Give me 1 second. I'm also going to mute my mic real quick so I can make sure my audio is a good level. Okay, that's fine. I'm going to keep the music on while I read. Last time I did it silent because I had an issue with the audio, but I think it's low enough that it's not too bothersome, because this is cozy time. I'm going to try and get a little bit more snippets here and there of different music to add in for backgrounds. I like this one. Believe I put it down in the credits already, but it's from Maroviti on Twitter. They're really nice little indie music artists. Some of their stuff's for free, but they deserve a lot more support. They're really adorable music wise. I like the vibe. let's see here. I held it up. Oh, and tomorrow I'm not sure if I'm gonna still do that chill chat stream, only because I have many streams planned next week. So far, I have about 4 Twitch streams planned that I'm also gonna throw in YouTube as well, for those that follow me on YouTube and not necessarily other places. I don't want to leave anyone behind, obviously. It's more so just a little figuring things out, having fun with it. Yesterday I streamed League of, and then that was pretty fun until everything froze and died. Alrighty. We put the schedule away. Okay. Okay. I believe I fixed all of my little things on here. I had a little bit of fun yesterday fixing OBS so I could switch between streaming on YouTube and streaming on Twitch. At first I was a little bit frustrated, but Google is helpful. Okay. So we are at chapter 9. Last week, or last time we did it, it was when the 3 were agreed to work with the council, and then they chose to go along with his whole trading regime. Like, you know, oh, I suppose, as long as we can do what we want. So let me... Alright. I'm just quickly time stamping, because at the end of the stream I fixed the timestamps. Okay. Alright, chapter 9. A land of Eld. A land that was only ruled by one, while others were governed by multiple. It caused grief in the years before having cruel It caused grief in the years before by having cruel leaders. One that looked away to those being used or foul dealings in the dark. To even go against nature and the elementals that once traversed the land. The previous ruler even encouraged fighting pits for beasts or for souls to gain vocalized hierarchy. Even those that worked in the grand city, nestled in the great trees, had their people bound by contract. Sater, the land of ancient trees that stood proud, tall, and grand. Their trunks were large and hefty, enough to be even larger than most homes. In fact, some homes were built against the trunks or scaled up the tree. Most of the land was dark from the canopies blocking out the sunlight. It was rumored that the Fae loved to travel those lands when not in the Feywild. Despite one ruling over Sater, there were multiple factions. With the previous ruler, they would bare teeth, but with the new ruler, all factions were quick to become loyal. Rulers are changed when one is challenged and triumphs another. Winning isn't enough, however. One to properly win a crown in Sater must slay the current ruler. This new one was a rarity in his skin as well. An Alatheros. Beast spirit folk that mainly stayed in the land of the gods or the land of the beast, depending on who you talk to. The Alatheros were like druids, shamans, and shifters, but also different. Skilled in their crafts and magic, but once of age, a being may bond their soul with an Alatheros. This forever altered their body while also letting power be shared. The being would then live inside of the Alatheros and forever give counsel until their last breath. A bond could be made before being of age, but could be deadly to both souls. Ander Andustin was this new lord of the land that gave others hope. An Alatheros that took time to bond, but did so with the lord of the forest, a being that went by many other names. He ended up having a larger figure with horns that curled off to the sides. He had slain the previous ruler, and all of Sater held their breath. When his first decree was to release everyone from their contracts, the breath was let out. Respect was quickly given, as he did everything for the sake of others. The lunar elves were the hardest to impress, but soon came to love him. The Temple of the Moon gave their nod of respect, and when he encouraged them to do as they pleased. The Coven of Vampires in the northern part of Sater also gave their loyalty, which was rare for the matriarch to interact with anyone else. Even the druids, who are usually stern, gave their approval. He stepped around Sildar city with caution but authority, making orders of peace and reopened their borders to the realm. Old tradition and festivals were brought back, as well as trade. The gem lakes were taken into use against the gem lakes were taken in use again against the if you're familiar with these reading streams, I will have moments that my little stutter comes in. The gem lakes were taken into use again instead of hoarded. Lakes that the canopies moved at night to let the moon shine light upon. The gemstones that rested at the bottom of these lakes would then soak in magic from the lunar light. This made their moonstones popular in uses of healing and magic. He often would take walks in Sater instead of just staying in the main city. His belief was that he could be a better lord if he knew every inch of the lands he ruled. Many would try to use him or end him in these moments, yet either were stunned or failed in their attacks. While the previous ruler was violent, he had patience and kindness to him. Alatheros were gifted to where they could understand any being's language, even to be able to communicate with them in a fashion. Then the Fae and other woodland beings would naturally sway towards his presence when he was near. Though that wasn't just for him being an Alatheros, but more the fact that they found him inviting or curious. The only time he would bear the same fierceness as the day he slayed the previous ruler would be in times when others were a threat to Sater and their people. Yet even the kindest ruler still had dagger eyes directed at the back of his neck. Those that wished to take advantage or fall back to their old ways. Those of the black market in the shadows of Sater wanted nothing more than to see him struggle and fall. Those with greed tried many tactics to have him falter, posing challenges, yet he would still overcome them with each time. Though his strength, others would come to love him more as their new leader. Those that were released from duty often willingly gave their loyalty back to him after seeing his work. A respectable being that even the trees would hum in satisfaction from being near him. A kind soul, yet fierce. Old families that took advantage of dealings in the past would hold grudges against him. He wasn't a tool they could use or a doll to play with. It did not matter to him. He was rather calm most of the time and quiet in his step. Yet his presence was loud, and many of the city would nod their head if not bow. Many would use the same title that the Lord of the Forest had and note him as being as such. A grand festival was held there, and even with the previous rulers. The harvest of the moon. Instead of strict and only amusement for previous rulers, it was now a joyous occasion. Andor used the festival to invite others from across the realm. A new age of a benevolent lord, one with honesty in times of ill news, and would lead by trudging through difficulties first before others had to. The Council Nine were the first to partner with the new lord to help usher in peace to the realm. And that was chapter 9 of our own Lord Andor Alderstein. Okay. Let me just now should be fine. You may hear things knocking around, but that's okay. Alright, into the next chapter. Chapter 10. The Underworld. While Renai was one of the earliest of realms, so is the Underworld, the final resting place of all souls of the realms. Lilith was their first ruler, as it was fresh realm that took on souls. Over many volatile over many volatile wars against powerful beings, some of the restart. Over many volatile wars amongst powerful beings, some of their bodies came to help in the formation of the underworld. Eventually, the deities ceased fighting and started to take care of areas for themselves. The Titans often still engaged the Celestials, which rocked the realms to create more and more destruction in the aftermath. Seeing this, the Titans' children aided other pantheons in taking their parents apart. At some point, Tartarus used their body to create a prison in the shadowed corner of the underworld. Thus, the children of Titans would lock them away in their brethren's form. Due to his wisdom and strength, Hades took on the mantle of ruling over the underworld. Beings were quick to become loyal to his ruling, and especially those that felt terrorized under Lilith. His idea was that the underworld should have many sections to operate properly. Those that were dangerous to the realm were cast into Tartarus. Many would rest in the Elysian fields. Yet souls need not rest forever. Souls could always choose to be reborn. Other gods of death worked closely with Hades for the stability of the realms and keeping the underworld in check. Anubis worked in a place called Castle Mortis in the underworld. Okay, that was an awkward moment. I accidentally muted the wrong thing, so you probably still heard something. It's fine. Okay. I'm just gonna reread that part. Blip, blip, blip. Let me see where I was. Okay. I'm just gonna reread this whole part. Other gods of death work closely with Hades for the stability of the realms and keeping the underworld in check. Anubis worked in a place called Castle Mortis in the underworld, a place that would record all history of the realms as well as hold relics in it. When the princes of hell were established under Hades, Leviathan was a great aid to Anubis in record keeping. After Persephone and Hades were married, even more life was brought to the land of the dead. Every time the queen came back to her throne, the underworld would celebrate for at least 2 weeks. There was a point when Hades sent word to this Council 9 and Renai. An agreement was made between the underworld and the council. For the stability of the two most volatile realms, they shall work in tandem. Time would pass until news came to Hades' ears again. Often they shared information about happenings in their courts. The deity grinned and leaned against his wife more. He reached up to adjust long black strands of his hair into his obsidian antlers. "Ooh, tell me again." He cooed in amusement as Persephone laughed at his display. The other being that sat across from them sighed and stared over with rich amber eyes. "The council has taken on newcomers, ones that are still fledglings but already showing promising skill. One of them, however, has displayed destructive behavior. Are any of them that we recorded to have escaped? The Queen smiled and gestured at him to continue. Wait. 1 second. I think I did this wrong. Let me read this. It's been a while. I totally did this wrong. I don't know. I might have removed a whole section from this. Okay, anyways, I'll restart. The other being sat across from them sighed and stared over with rich amber eyes. The council has taken on newcomers, ones that are still fledglings but already showing promising skill. One of them, however, has already displayed destructive behavior. Are any of them ones that were recorded to have escaped? The Queen smiled and gestured at him to continue. No, don't think so. Leviathan would have recognized their signature if so. Anubis said he would send out the historian to investigate should they get destructive again. For now, they have the deity Athena as their mentor. Very good. I trust Athena's judgment. Persephone let out a sigh of relief. Hades eyed his wife and noted her satisfaction with the answer. Oh, how he was always content seeing her happiness. But then he turned towards the other and gave a nod of approval. Very well then, Beelzebub, my son. Oh, I forgot. That's why I was confused. It was the third person in this. Oh well. There was a third person this whole time. That's why it got confusing. Okay. Very good. I trust Athena's judgment. Persephone let out a sigh of relief. Hades eyed his wife and noted her satisfaction with the answer. Oh, how he always was content seeing her happiness. He then turned towards the other and gave a nod of approval. Very well, then, Beelzebub, my son. Keep an eye on that situation then for us. Send word immediately if Anubis has to take action, but also update me if they do anything curious. Not often do mortals have this ability of summoning magic. It is still odd when you call me your son, but very well. You do not wish to call me your mother? Persephone gave a pout of dramatics that had Hades smirking. My queen, apologies, Both Hades and Persephone started laughing when Beelzebub started to panic. The two rulers were always quirky when around each other. Unlike their brethren, they remained loyal to each other. Their love and respect for each other had them be a great power in the underworld. Yet despite their happy and relaxed nature when around each other, they still had their ferocity. Even now when Hades let a twisted grin spread on his face. I have half a mind to bring them here immediately just to know what they are. Yet I am curious. I wish to see what they become and what they do. I almost want to see them break and erupt. To see what manner of monsters that the council accidentally let in. They have fair judgment, but sometimes too fair, I believe. You're always so stern about them, love. Persephone pulled him over to have Hades lay down and rest his head in her lap. She loved to mess with his hair and antlers. Often she grew flowers to weave into his hair. We have many years to see if they do more. Their lives will burn in the blink of an eye. Hades smiled up at her for a moment before looking over to Beelzebub. Make sure Levi focuses on them, will you? Beelzebub smirked and stood from his seat. He was one of the handful of the ancient species of vigilant kind that fell. The underworld reformed their bodies and they would serve under Hades. As the other princes loved Beelzebub, they followed his every command. He was noted as the commander under Hades, and even the one that Hades would deem his successor. A bow was given to the boat before he's made his way out. The underworld would see all. And that's the end of that chapter. We are still making good on time. Take a picture of this timestamp. My connection today is a bit wonky, but that's okay. I know why it is. Chapter 11. Time would go forward in the realm. 6 years would pass of life, adjusting all that was new. Most of Satara came to love their new lord, whilst those of the shadows developed plans to overthrow him. The underworld would send figures to different parts of Renai to have meanings. Hades would also send another in his stead, since the underworld was always sworn with duties needed to be tended to. Yet there was an understanding for the need to have both Renai and the underworld work together in a sense. The three that would have been bound to the council would continue studying and training under them. Satara would face a time where an old face in the shadows would start to stir again. Golden Sons. A group that worked foul deals across the realm would be rumored to actively work in Satara again. The Owls were the guards that worked to make sure the safety of Satara would be kept, and especially the city of Sildar. It didn't take much for the Owls to trust Andor originally when he became Lord. Omra was the odd leader of the Owls that most of those against the ruler would despise. Unlike the usual lunar elf, Omra was very different. A being that was favored by the Fae, given their aid. He was stern in his work and gave great loyalty to Andor. Other areas progressed without hardly even batting an eye on the dealings between Pembroke, Satara, and the underworld. Great areas of the Aster Isles, the southern tundra, Doraine Kingdom, and even the Lothan cities would ignore these peacemaking efforts. Though the Doraine Kingdom and Lothan cities would just say that they're already at peace in their defense. The other places that would call would fall upon deaf ears. Yet the areas placed on the common map were small in comparison to the realm as whole. The common map only made up an eighth of the realm. The rest of what the land of the beast or land of the gods was. Lands that would hold lands that had their own ways of life and ruling. Some would try to venture out, but if they did so, they would be forever changed. Rumors of floating lands or cities of gods would rest there in the corners. Despite peace and progression being the thing of the Council Nine strived for, they could not protect all. In the shadows of the realm, a sickness would start delving into the cracks of nature. A brewing darkness of foul deeds going against what nature herself deemed her rules by other beings and their greed, and simply what was inevitable. And that was a short chapter 11. We might do more than 4 chapters because these next couple chapters are really short. Me. Da, da. Hey. A plea has been given to us from the sanctuary of Mia, north of here and next to the Sprig Mountains. They hardly ever reach out, so I wanted to take into this heavy consideration, especially with how badly it sounds. Cypress placed a map on the meeting table and pointed the place out. Atraxia and Anna loomed over to see where he pointed. They spoke of a monstrosity that has been showing up as of late. A monstrosity that had been stealing souls before they are able to take to the underworld. This monster just comes in, takes, and head back for the mountains. Why didn't they just kill it? Questioned Atraxia with a confused look. Well, of course they tried. Yet they spoke of the fact that the beast was unnatural. Even Kitsune Fire was having a hard time penetrating the fur of the beast. Those of the main shrine at least were able to use wards so the building wouldn't be broken into. However, souls that are wandering around outside before the departure are the ones targeted. Nothing described matches our bestiary. Anna tilted her head and looked over to Cypress with concern and interest. No, not really. It may be one that has wandered in from the ancient lands or even from the underworld. I'm sending you 2 out for now, just to get formal description. If you can stop it, great. However, if it gets too rough, please retreat. He gave a sigh at the last part and looked over at the 2 of them. Both had an expression that as if they didn't know what he was talking about. Maybe sending 2 reckless uns out was a bad idea, but he did trust their skill at least. Especially with how Anna bonded to those 3 like a mother. All of them worked together, and he only needed information this time. Go now, check things out. They said the beast shows up only at dusk and leaves before night fully shrouds over. It shouldn't take long to get over there by flight. Atraxia, don't go wandering off either. A stern look was given over to the fledgling mage. I would never go against anything that's told of me, Cypress. Really now, you know me for some years now. Best behavior. He sighed again and shooed them both away. This last chapter, I'm going to go ahead and do a 5th chapter for today, and it is the longest one out of 4 pages. So let me just times. Hopefully that wasn't loud doing that. So this may run a little bit over the hour mark, but that's okay. Chapter 13. Well, what do you see? Anna knew she could scout things easier, but this would also be a good learning experience for Atraxia, especially from this being a rare occasion the council letting them, any of the 3, out from the city. I guess nothing yet. Just those pink trees and the buildings, the river. I see souls floating around and those that tend to the place. Why aren't they on some kind of defensive? The sun is starting to go down after all. This is just a moment in their time, but the duties are eternal. They still have 10 to new souls and wander in and prep them for Charon. The brace inside, the main shrine would be forsaking new souls. We can fight this thing when it shows up, right? Atraxia looked over to Anna, who was perching and staring forward. Anna turned her head towards Atraxia and flashed a toothy grin. Of course. I'd much rather try to prevent it from taking the souls. You follow my words, though, okay? Yeah, I know. Or else you'll never hear the end of it from the council, and therefore would, beat me up or something. Yes, exactly. Anna raised her head in pride. After their moment of talking, though, the sun started to filter through the trees as it went down. Different hues spread across the land in tones of pink and amber. Atraxia would stare in awe until a roar vibrated through the air. Atraxia was about to jump down from the tree they sat in until Anna grabbed her shoulder and hissed in disapproval. Just wait, she whispered. The echoes thumped of a being had those of the shrine running back inside. Then a blurred shape ran down from the cliffs and leapt over the main river. The being stood in the fields and roared out in fury. A mass of fur and several sets of horns protruded out of the head. Its tail had scales with barbs at the end. That shouldn't exist. Anna's eyes were wide when taking in the sight. It's unnatural. But all of the chimeras should be dead from the project. No, this is newer. The chimera from the past was supposed to be taken a mortal form to be discreet. The beast raised its leather wings but did not take flight. Instead, the wings stretched out and the soul slowly drifted near. One that already had been close would quickly float up and stick to the underside of the wing while in orb form. Chimeras. The foul creation that originated from greedy, non-magical humans that weren't from Renai, taking and altering and acting as if they were a god. The idea had Atraxia clenching her jaw, wanting to leap down, but Anna was digging her claws into her shoulder. Who did this? Were there more of these scientists? Beings that dared to cause horror like her mother once did. Once the underside of its wings had been covered, the chimera lowered its wings and to nestle against its body. As it turned, a roar was furiously let out. That thick tail swayed before quickly snapping to the side. The barbs at the end were released and sent towards the main shrine. Yet instead of penetrating the walls, the barbs made contact with the barrier. The barrier flashed like a mist before the barbs fell down. The chimera gladly let that moan of anger before leaping over the river and east to the sanctuary. Then talons dug into the cliffside as it started to scale up. Are we seriously going to do nothing? Atraxia snapped at Anna and knocked her claws off of her shoulder, wincing slightly at the small wound that was made. Oh, you're going to follow it. The thing didn't consume the souls but took them instead. I want to see where this goes. Perhaps a master can... I need to know. The two would immediately follow in pursuit. Anna used her wings for flight, yet Atraxia had the use of light disc. A thing crafted by mages of Pembroke to give flight, yet it did not last long. Hector and Atraxia, though, were curious too. When the light disc only lasted so long, theirs would last until they wanted them not to. Two of them seemed to be unnaturally like great mages, the two of them seemed to be unnaturally like great wells of magic. Yet Anna would never speak to them about the council's concern. Anna was talented when it came to trailing behind unnoticed, using tactics of hunting and sneaking. Whenever she stopped, Atraxia stopped. Whenever she flew to a specific angle, Atraxia would follow. Finally, the chimera came to a stop with what looked like a carved platform. One that had to have been done by hand. A large bowl sat in the middle, to which the chimera started depositing the souls into. Whenever their orb form landed, they could not leave it. The platform had different stone statues around the area, but one near the bowl, not carved into shapes, but with different script carved down to them. Another being made their way around that was the closest, smaller compared to the chimera and with more of a mortal form. What wearing what seemed to be like a simple suit, yet their odd feature was a leather mask that they wore. One that was crafted to a point outwards, like a large bird or a beak. The being looked over to the bowl, and the chimera didn't seem to care about their presence. Then the being paused just before turning towards the direction that Anna and Atraxia were headed in. Gloved hands were brought together in front of themselves, and they pulled their shoulders back. When they spoke, their voice was hauntingly deep and guttural. I'm not going to be able to do his voice right now, but I'll try my best. That's usually D&D time when I can do his voice. Curious eyes get plucked, you know. Then their voice would change to a higher pitch. Oh, blasted, come out. How else should I eat if I'm having an audience? When they both refused to budge, the being grumbled. Fine, just fine. Be a dear and make them come out. He gestured to the chimera. The chimera grunted after last souls were depleted. Then large talons moved it over to the direction that were being pointed. After a few testing paws on the platform, the chimera raised its wings in the air. A breath was taken in before another roar was let out. The towers around the form started to light up with magic and started giving off a humming. Atraxia's eyes widened, realizing that some sort of symbol was meant. Quickly, she grabbed Anna and forcibly tugged her towards the platform. forward to the platform. Atraxia struggled and Anna struggled and nearly clawed at Atraxia. Further and further, Atraxia brought her to bring them both onto the platform. Then when the humming stopped, electricity erupted around the platform and scaled high into the sky. Anna stopped fighting Atraxia when the realization kicked in. They would have taken that blow if they stayed put. The chimera growled and had its tail at the ready when the two of them were there. Yet the other being came forward and shushed the chimera to stop growling. The chimera grunted before angrily laying down. What do we have here? The being cocked their head to the side with snapping sound. Anna only took the better hold of herself before stepping between the being and Atraxia. Her wings stretched out and she curled her claws into fists. Oh my, such anger! The being clapped gloved hands together and feigned a look of surprise. A little heartbeat protecting one of the else? Curious too. He tilted his head, trying to get a better look of Atraxia, but Anna spread her wings out more. Atraxia, however, was frozen in place. Was it fear? She wasn't sure. Something about the other being she couldn't move. Giving up after a moment, the being's red eyes through the mask itself were narrowed on Atraxia. They stood up straight and cleared their foe before bowing. I am simply called Gula. Now, tell me why I shouldn't add you both to what is my dinner tonight? Anna charged forward first with claws ready. Before any damage could be done, the chimera quickly charged her. Off to the side, the chimera and Anna started their own fight of tooth and claw. Now the being called Gula looked towards Atraxia. Slow steps were taken, and before Atraxia snapped to realization and attacked, his hand shot forward. Atraxia quickly dodged, but a gash was left on her shoulder where Anna had taken her back before. They had held her back before. Gula, having tried to do more, simply turned and used his other hand to take hold of her neck. The hand he usually originally used now had blood on the glove. Those beady red eyes peered over through the darkness of the mask as he squeezed her neck firmly. Atraxia grabbed at his hand, but Gula was unnaturally strong. Every time she tried, he squeezed. So she gave up and he simply held her there. Gula stared down at her, looking pitiful. How fragile lives were. You... Instead of speaking out his thoughts first, he let his curiosity get to him. The beak of his mouth started to warp and pull apart as if flesh. Jagged teeth and a gaping maw seemed to be part of this mask. Atraxia's eyes widened as his maw came down on her shoulder. Pain. Hot pain started fanning out through her body. Ooh. That was probably a loud sound, my bad. The seal on her back felt as if it was sparking out on its own out of self-preservation. Then Gula drew back and let go of Atraxia. This had her stumbling back and her heart threatened to leap from her chest. Run. Was she scared? His beak spread out in a bark of laughter before the seams morphed back together. I do know you. One of Julius's toys. You. Gula pointed an accusing finger at Atraxia. You and yours were supposed to be mine. He was supposed to sell you to me one day. Then you lot had to go and disappear. How fortunate you delivered yourself to me. Hands clasped together in excitement. Atraxia's vision was shaky and everything felt like it was in slow motion. Someone that knew her when she was with Julius. The feeling of fighting started to creep up her back. Whispers filled her mind of contracts that tried to get through to her, despite her frozen in the moment. But you should be punished first. Punished for leaving Julius and preventing me from maintaining you three in a proper manner. Do not worry, my dear ingredient. I have tasted you and I shall come for you again. For now, be a dear and punish them. His hand lifted and the darkness started to envelop his figure. The chimera that was fighting roared in response, and it was now that Atraxia remembered Anna was fighting it. She swiftly turned to see the sight of the chimera's maw looming over the body of the platform. Eyes widened and senses dulled. Vision slowed and the sound of a pulse rang in her ears. She no longer knew what was happening or if she had control over herself. Just watching the events happen through the monitor of her eyes. How fire consumed her and charcoal ran up her limbs. Fire shifted and swirled around at her forming command. How some of those potent flames condensed at her hand and moved forward to create a sword. How the chimera snapped attention to her instead and came charging. How Atraxia and the chimera started to fight. Or rather, dance. She knew inside what her body was doing. She was guiding the chimera away from Anna. Then, when in a better distance away, her claw came up to clutch the pendant she wore. Fury welled up inside of her and she watched all of those slow movements from inside of herself. Do it, she whispered to herself, willed herself even. The pendant sparked to life at her command, and the command was definitely given. The flames licked around her form before a magic circle scorched rapidly along the platform under the chimera. Then a pause. A violent fire shot up from the circle. A pillar of volatile burst of magic that roared with fury and life. The chimera shrieked in terror, but it was trying to move. Obsidian chains also burst forth from the circle. These chains held the beast down as the fires consumed. Breathe. She finally had a hold of herself as her form reverted back. Atraxia instantly ran over and fell down to where Anna was. Fear again snaked up her body when seeing Anna before her. Wings torn and a body of mess of feathers and blood. She quickly reached forward to lean over and look her over. Seeing Anna breathing raggedly, hope washed over her. Then as Anna looked up to her, a hand came up to press to her cheek. I did not know you could look so scared. Anna smirked before coughing. Shut the hell up. Atraxia's brows pinched together and she looked over the wounds. There was only so much she knew. Healing magic wasn't something she was the best at. If only she had her alchemic tools and then she could try and make something. But she only tried to rack her brain for a solution. Anna started to push herself to sit upright. When Atraxia fussed, she simply pushed her hands away. Atraxia, stop. Her voice was stern, and it was enough to stop her. Seeing Atraxia's worried face had her chuckle, though it hurt more to do so. One of her claws came up to move hair from Atraxia's face. I can't help but feel like I raised you three. However, you do not need me. You three are skeleton, especially you. Yet I worry you will fall if I cannot catch you. I regret not being able to be there to see you three thrive in danger or thrive in life. I am dying, Atraxia. My body will not hold from this. No. Atraxia shook her head. No. Atraxia slammed fist down on the platform. What could be done? How could she live? As she fumed, she heard a thud, and it had her attention snap up. Anna was laying back, clutching at her chest. A corruption from one of the wounds was creeping up her skin and was trying to kill her before she could even bleed out. No. Atraxia cursed and reached up to rapidly pull off her own shirt. The seal on her back sparked to life and illuminated a teal hue. Magic started to be exerted at such a pressure that it moved clothes and hair. Atraxia's lips pulled back to bare teeth in frustration. I will save you, damn it all. A summoner. She was a summoner for a reason. For what reason she did not know yet. Yet she did know there was something she could do after all. So she stood and moved her hands outwards. The magic sparked more, and the same teal magic started to spark on the platform around the two of them. A larger magic circle started to form underneath them. Deep breath was taken as whispers filled the back of her mind. The curse of her existence would now be put use by her own demand. No one else's. Hear me, O heavenly stars. This soul shall be mine, bound to me so long as my soul quakes. Not even the hells can tear them from me. And that's that of this chapter. Atraxia, my beloved, my poor, tortured child. Okay. That is the end of the reading for today. Let me just fix these shit we need to be. So here's the schedule. In about 15 minutes or so, I will be going ahead and doing the art stream. Yeah, I'm gonna figure out in the next little bit what I'm gonna actually do for that stream, but it'll be more casual and just drawing for the day. Thanks for joining this one. See you in a bit. And for anyone who's just stopping by for this video, thanks for joining. Have a wonderful rest of your day, morning, evening, night, depending on where you are. Have a good one.